Вітаємо вас, дорогі глядачі, на українській телемережі «Контакт». І сьогодні представляємо ще одного радника міста Миссисага, який хоче бути мером міста. І це є Ward 1 City Councillor Стівен Dasko. І може ви догадаєтеся, що це українського походження. Stephen Dasko, welcome to our show. Somehow your name tells us that you're potentially Ukrainian.
Добрий день.
and seeking the mayor's job in Mississauga. So Stephen, let's get into it. I understood from your campaign programming that affordability seems to be an issue in Mississauga. Now you've been around in Ward 1 now for, I'd say, more or less 6 years. Tell us what is the issue with affordability in Mississauga and how you would like to handle that.
Well, there's a real disconnect between what you can afford and what's available for everybody. And, you're 100% right. I was elected 6 years ago into my second term. But also I'm somebody that's been around the community a very long time. I was christened at St. Mary's. So, it was not until very recent that we hit a point where we're not able to, for most people, to go and buy something. And so for me, it's somebody that's going to work with other levels of government. We have 80,000 units currently, Yuri, that are available to be built, but nobody's pulled a building permit. And there's no period of time that you need to actually pull a building permit to put a shovel in the ground. In one case, I've got a situation where 32 years a property has been sitting that could have 400 rental units on it. So what really we need to work together, with all levels of government to figure out how to get those shovels in the ground along with the development industry sooner so that we get more practical products of all different types on the market for everybody.
Stephen, we did an interview with Deepika Damerla on the show a couple of weeks ago. She seemed to think that crime is a big issue, and we did hear in the news about cars being stolen or luxury cars being, automatically disappearing. Is that a real issue, or is that just a news story?
Oh, it's very much a news issue. In the first 3 months of the year alone, over 1,400 vehicles were stolen just in the city of Mississauga. And it's becoming a significant issue for us. I've actually recently put out a 5-point plan to address it. It's not just a small ward issue, or it's not just a Mississauga issue. It's a GTA and a Canadian issue, and it's one that we all need to really roll up our sleeves and do a lot better on. I was part of a recent auto summit. There's another one coming back here in May in Mississauga, but I've got a 5-point plan that'll directly deal with it and make some real meaningful and very relatively quick difference here.
Stephen, I also read in your materials that you consider that there's too much building in Mississauga, or not enough housing. I always thought that Mississauga was a very well-planned neighborhood. So how has this become an issue now?
Well, for me, it's building responsibly. I'm a big believer, Yuri, that we have official plans in the city and local area plans. And to your point, it tells us how to build a great city. And if we follow those principles, we do it very well. What we've received lately, and especially down in the southern end of the city, which has over 40% of all the development applications, is if you're allowed 3 stories, people want 17. And if you're allowed, call it 20 stories, people want 42, 15, 38. So what I'm mentioning is one on its own doesn't make a big difference, but when you add all of them up together in its totality, and if you really stray from our official plans, what I worry about is having a lack of infrastructure. Simple things like even turning on the water or flushing a toilet, let alone having enough parkland, schools, community centers, libraries, things of that nature.
Well, that's kind of interesting you mentioned that, because you think Mississauga, it's been a growing environment. But you don't think that there's a border holding Mississauga in. So there's no real expansion in terms of land. There's only going up. So how does that translate into, building housing or offices or building whatever?
I'm a big believer on building smart, and part of that is building around significant transit areas to get people around, because that's the other part of it that we really have to go back and address, is make sure that we've got transit that's done properly and intelligently and practical. People will use transit if it's going to suit your lifestyle, and if not, you can run whatever you want and nobody will take it. So having a common sense approach to that, but also having the employment base where we're not just waking up in the morning and having to commute to Toronto or Hamilton or somewhere else to go to find our place of employment, that it would be more localized so we don't have those long commutes as well. We're also the second largest employer in Ontario, and we should really use that and lever that.
Now, Stephen, I just would like to circle back to affordability. Many Ukrainians live in Mississauga. Big Ukrainian festival was there for a while in your city hall, or city hall Centennial Square or Celebration Square. Is the affordability issue and the pricing the same as in neighboring Toronto or as in Vancouver? Are we talking the same levels of affordability, or are they different levels of pricing and consideration?
Yeah. Well, you're 100% right. It's the large cosmopolitan areas. The pricing has gotten just out of reach for pretty much anybody, and that really needs to get addressed. And that's why my big belief is we have to tackle these things together. I love working with people. I've got the ability to do that. I don't wear a party stripe. I think most of the other people that are running have a particular party stripe, and I don't think that's helpful when it comes to the city of Mississauga, because whatever the government is of the day, we want to make sure we get the best deal done for the city of Mississauga. It's always something that Hazel was a big fan of, is make sure that you don't have a party affiliation, but you work with everybody. And that's my approach. I've got a proven track record. I work for everybody because I get results done. And when it comes to affordability of housing, or a lot of what we have right across the city, and even taxes, I think a practical approach has to be there as well.
City Councillor Stephen Dasko, thank you very much for being with us on our show. We wish you all the best. Дорогі глядачі, це радник міста Миссисага, Ward 1, Стефан Дашко, вкинувся в програму бути мером міста Миссисага. То бажаємо йому всього доброго. До побачення.
До побачення. Слава Україні.
Всього добра. Всього добра.